Hey! Hello? I done told you the bitch don't live here! Fucking psychos. Hey everybody, it's Drewski McGillicuddy, and 'tis the season for giving, so I figured why not give y'all a movie review. So, this close to Christmas, what better movie to review than the horror classic Black Christmas, directed by Bob Clark in 1974. Like y'all didn't already know all that information. I'm not here to talk about that, I'm here to talk about my movie viewing experience. And before I get to tonight's movie viewing experience, I want to mention that I had seen this movie several years prior, back in 2007. And when I watched it all the way back then, I was slightly bored, to say the least. And then watching it this time, I was slightly bored, to say the least. Now, the secretary apparently, I guess, loves this movie. She likes them slow burns, which I like a slow burn. But I just felt like this movie just kept on dragging, and it was almost like they were doing it on purpose. Now, this movie is directed by Bob Clark, the guy that brought us A Christmas Story, which is by far my favorite Christmas movie of all time. Every year, I pretty much watch it for 24 hours, whether it's on TV or whether I gotta bust out my own Blu-ray and watch A Christmas Story. If it's Christmas, I'm watching A Christmas Story is what I'm getting at. Now, a Black Christmas, I don't really see myself watching this every year. I probably should give it one more chance some other time. I don't know. It's like the setting wasn't right or something, even though it's almost Christmas. I got the Christmas tree going. We've got the old Yule log crackling in the background. But for some reason, and don't get me wrong, it's not like this movie's bad. I'm not saying the movie's bad. I'm just saying it's boring. It's boring. Nothing hardly happens. And when it does, it's kind of nothing. I know. Y'all are just getting pissed off and clicking the unsubscribe button, and that's to be expected because I'm bad-mouthing a beloved classic. But it's not my fault, okay? This movie starts off almost right away, and then it kind of just takes a backseat to this story between Jess and her boyfriend, who they keep trying to set up the boyfriend, Peter, to be the killer, which I guess it kind of makes sense towards the end, because then Billy gets away, not to spoil a 49-year-old movie. It's fucking hot. It's fucking hot. But anyway, the movie starts off with a sorority party going on. Something happens to where Margot Kidder decides all the men gotta leave. And then after all the men leave, that's when they get the obscene phone calls. And I'm sorry. I can't stand these phone calls. I know they're supposed... Oh, God. I don't know what the fuck to say about the fucking phone calls. Received their first obscene phone call, which the first one is pretty much the most obscene that you hear, because he's saying the C word and the P word, and, you know, talking about the C word. That's the other C word. I don't want to say this stuff. I'm not going to say it out loud. I'll say the F word. I don't have a problem with the F word, but some of these other words, and I mean, you got to think 1974. Yeah, that's probably pretty edgy and risque to be using this kind of profanity in film, even if it is a horror movie, because I don't remember classic movies using a lot of foul language. So that phone call is pretty much the most obscene in the movie, like I said. But they get this call, and then there's some sort of altercation between Barb and Claire, and Claire runs off to pack because she's leaving in the morning, I guess to go with her father, and turns out nobody knows where she is the next day, but we know where she is. She's up in the attic with a plastic bag wrapped around her head. And that is probably the best kill in the movie. And it's pretty tame by today's standards. And maybe that's another problem I have with the movie, which I don't know what my problem is. Because I like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there's hardly any blood in that movie. And I feel like all the kills are, for the most part, off-screen or tame, to say the least, in this movie. Like, I don't know what to say. I do not know what to say. The movie just goes on forever and ever and ever. They just keep calling and keep calling. And then all the meanwhile, you got Jess and Peter, and they're having like this real world problem. I don't necessarily like the way Jess handles this situation, because she's just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna kill it. I don't give a fuck. Like, just does not give a fuck about what Peter has to say, because he wants to get married and quit playing the piano, and it kind of expects her to give up her dreams, even though she tells him, you know, I had dreams and stuff before you came along. I'm not just gonna give all that stuff up. Which, I mean, I guess in hindsight, that's actually really good plot motivation and all that good stuff. I mean, maybe that's why people like this movie, because it's very realistic, and there's, you know, real themes, real world themes in this movie. It's not just, hey, there's a killer in the house, he's running around killing all these dumb bimbos. That's not what this is. And it's not that that's what my problem is with it. It's just that it takes so fucking long for anything to start happening. And then when it does, it's mostly off screen. And like I said, the obscene phone calls by today's standards are kind of a joke. I feel like the voice that he uses is annoying. It's more annoying than it is frightening to me. All the suspense building scenes in this movie, they're not really building suspense. They're making me impatient as fuck. So, and like I said, aside from the plastic bag kill, all the other ones are kind of off screen. I mean, you get the head mother, and she is snooping her head around up in the attic, and he swings a fucking hook at her, and I guess hooks her, and then pulls her up into the attic, but you don't really see it, and it's kind of unfathomable because those fucking hooks aren't sharp, so it would take a shit ton more force than whatever the fuck he threw the shit at her. Oh my god. And don't even get me started on the angle that it comes at her. But that's fine. That's fine. You know, it's 1974. What do you expect from people? But I can let that slide. But the fact that I feel like only 3 people die in this movie, and only one of them you really actually see. Well, I guess more than 3 people die. I don't know. You don't see anything. Nothing ever fucking happens on screen. And then we get the suspenseful part about, hey, 3 hours later, we find out that the calls are coming from inside the house. Totally forgot to talk about how there's this dipshit Nash at the police department. And when Claire originally goes missing and they go looking for her, nobody's taking them seriously because he says, oh, she's off banging her boyfriend or something. Well, when her boyfriend finds out she's missing and she's not off banging him, he gets fucking pissed and goes back to the police station and says, hey, dipshit, you know, maybe you should do your job. You know, and I can relate to that because that's what I would do if somebody couldn't find Sarah. I'd be like, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Point is, no, there is no point. This movie just takes forever to get started, and then once it does get started, it's over. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense to you that that would be my problem with this movie? It just, because it's not... kept finding myself uninterested and leaving the room. You know, I couldn't wait to have to go to the bathroom. God, I could just feel the heat from the torches and the pitchforks getting ready to come out, because I know that most of you watching this probably love this movie. This is probably one of your yearly Christmas traditions. You pop this movie in, but not me. I'm more of a Cadaver Christmas, which a lot of people don't know about that movie. Maybe we'll talk about that movie on or around Christmas, or maybe we'll save it for next year. But as far as Black Christmas goes, did I even talk about what happens? Yeah, the calls are from inside the house. It's this guy named Billy who's like just this. I mean, granted, he is going after women because he only kills women in this movie because Lord knows if he were to stand up to a man, he'd get his ass beat. Honestly. I mean, just listening to the way he throws his little temper tantrum fits and just he can't handle himself. He's all fucked up in the head. But hey, what are you going to do? Anyway, I'm sorry, everybody, but I feel like this movie is severely overrated. And don't get me wrong, I love A Christmas Story, but Black Christmas is just... I feel like I've said too many negative things, but I mean, there are positives. There are positives to this movie before I grade it. I want to mention how the fact that it's very real, it's grounded in reality. Most of the acting is pretty decent. I mean, you got John Saxon, he gives a great performance. Margot Kidder, who I never really got her appeal, she does a decent job, even though I can't stand her character. She does a decent job. But Olivia Hussey as Jess, I mean, I guess she's doing a good job, but her accent aggravates me, and it's why I don't understand. Why does she have an accent? I mean, I guess we have British exchange students. I don't know. But what I do know is these characters are boring and uninteresting, and this movie took too long to get started, and when it did, I didn't care anymore, and by the time it was over, I was like, Jesus Christ. Had a birthday. I hate to do it. I hate to do it, alright? Y'all gonna get mad at me. But it's a 5 out of 10 for me. I mean, it's got its moments. It's got good performances. It's grounded in reality. But it might be too grounded in reality. Maybe that's the problem that I'm having with it, because I just don't get the appeal. Like, it's boring. It's fucking boring. Alright? And that's the worst thing you could do if you're a movie, is bore me. I'm not that hard to fucking entertain, goddammit. Anyway, if you don't hate me because I thought this movie was mediocre at best, please like this video, share this video, comment on this video, subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And if I could borrow $1 for Christmas presents, there's the link to the Patreon. I mean, we're dwindling over here, everybody. Also, I just wanted to say, I hope if I don't see you that you all have a very Merry Christmas and a safe holiday. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, whatever holiday you do celebrate, have a happy one. And we'll see you in the next video, which might be next year. But, you know, my New Year's resolution is going to be to start making more better videos. Mo better videos. Mo money, mo money. Okay, get the fuck out of my house.